Hi all, just a quick video before you get started with the assignment for chapter 4. Um, you might be familiar, some of you might already be familiar with the statistical analysis learning tool on WebAssign known as SALT. Uh, it allows you to do analysis on the data, and it kind of somewhat does it automatically from the data. You just have to know to click on it. However, our exam will not be web-based. It's going to be a paper pencil exam. And so we need to know how to do some of the same calculations using our graphing calculator. So I clicked here on the syllabus, and if you have a graphing calculator, pull that out. And if not, go to the syllabus. I'm going to click on the online simulator so that we can practice using the same keystrokes that we use for the physical calculator, which we'll be able to use on the exam. And so my goal here is to create the linear regression line for this set of data. It came from an early assignment where we had quality rating and appeal rating. And what I want to do is enter a list 1 and a list 2 so that I can get the linear regression. Before we do anything with our graphing calculator, we want to make sure the stat diagnostic is on. So I'm going to click on mode here and scroll down to stat diagnostic, go down, and I want to make sure that that's on. Press enter, and so that it's on now, and so I can go to quit. So from the video, we want to enter a list 1 and a list 2. For list 1, I'm going to put quality rating, and for list 2, I'm going to put appeal rating. So to make a list, we press stat. That's this button right here, stat. And it's a list, and I want to edit a list. So I'm going to press enter. I'm just going to enter the data that I have here. So I have 80. Take a minute and enter that data as well. You might notice that I numbered my data, and it's a good practice to number data just so that you know that you don't get offline. So I have 9 pieces of data, and number 9 was last. And we want to enter our list 2. Let me enter that. Okay, so my data is all lined up, and I went slow to make sure that I have all the values that I need to have. Okay, so from my data, I want to click, let's do second quit to get out of here. And I want to go to stat, and I want to do some calculations. And it's the fourth one down. It's a linear regression, ax plus b. I will note there's another one that says linear regression on 8. I can't think of a good reason why it's on there twice, except for algebra, we're more likely to want to put ax plus b, and for statistics, it's often more reported a plus bx. You can click either one, it doesn't matter. I'm going to click 4 though. So I make sure I have the right data list in here. This is list 1, list 2, and I'm going to scroll down to calculate. So calculate. Okay, so I get a bunch of things written on here. I have an x value, a y value, I'm sorry, an a value and a b value, and I have r squared and r, and I want to talk about what each of those mean. So for r squared, it's the proportion of the variance in the response variable that can be explained by our regression line. And so specifically here, we can say that about 36.6% of the variation of the appeal rating can be explained by the quality rating. The next thing we have is R, which is the strength and direction of the linear relationship. So here R is positive and between 0.5 and 0.8. So we can say that there is a moderate positive linear relationship between quality and appeal rating. Okay. So also I would like to know the standard error SE for the residuals, and it's the measure of how well the regression line fits our data. And so the computation for that SE is the sum of the square of the residuals divided by n minus 2 and the square root of that result. So our residuals are y, so y is the observed y, minus y hat, our predicted y. And so I need to know those values. My list over here from the calculator does not give me any of those values. And so we're going to use our list to make those computations. So let's go back to our list up here. And so I want to create a Y3, and our Y3 is going to be the predicted outcome for our data. So I have an equation for Y. My equation for Y is my predicted Y, Y hat. My little hats didn't show up on here, but these are my Y hats. And so I use my A and my B to create equation for my Y hat, which is 2.75x plus 622.95 to get my outcome. I can certainly do those calculations in my calculator. So if I wanted to find my predicted Y, I'm just going to plug in 80 for X. So let's do that really quick on our calculator. So I have 2.75 times 80, so 622.95, enter. So I get 842.95. And so that's what I have here. So I don't want to actually compute that 9 times. That seems unreal. 9 isn't too many times, and I can go back and edit. Uh, but there's a way that we could do it kind of all at once using the graphing calculator. So I'm going to press stat again, stat, and I'm going to edit a list. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Hello. Okay. And I'm going to edit a list. And I want to create a list 3. So again, so here, when I create my list 3, notice I scrolled up because I want the L3 to be highlighted because I want something to do for all the list. If I'm just on the first one where it says L31, I'm going to do the computation for just that one, and I don't want to do that. I want to do it for all of it. So I want to enter the formula that I have over here. And for my X, instead of putting the value X, I'm going to tell the calculator what to use for the X. And the values that I'm going to use for X are going to be L2. So on my L3, I have that it's going to be 2.75 X. And for my X inputs, I'm going to press L1. So I press second L1 because those are going to be my inputs, plus 622.95. And I press enter. So again, the same computation that I got by hand, I got it over here, but it did it 9 times for all of my list. So you could take a minute and write down those 9 things if you would like, but they're all in there. So we have them all. So I know my Y hats. Again, to compute my residuals, I need my Y minus Y hats. I can certainly do the computation, so let me go quit really quick. So for my first line of data, for my Y hat, I have my appeal rating, which is 858, minus 842.95. And I press enter. I get 15.05. But again, I don't want to do this 9 times. And so I can create one more list. I'm going to call that L4. And L4 is going to be the computation for my residuals, which is Y minus Y hat. I got the first one. But I can go to the list so I don't have to do it 9 times. So let me go back to stat. I'm going to edit a list, and I want a list 4. Again, I make sure that list 4, L4, is highlighted at the top. So I do it for all of them and not just for one. And what I really want is L2 minus L3. So these are my observed uh, appeal rating, and these are my predicted appeal rating. So I'm just going to subtract. So I'm going to press second L2 minus second L3 and press enter. And it gives me the calculations for all of them. And again, you can write those down if you want to. I typed them in there. So now the point is back to here, our calculations. I wanted to be able to calculate my standard error for the residuals. And so I want the sum of the residuals and I want to divide that. So again, the calculator doesn't do this computation, but I want to talk about how to get this part of the calculation. So the sum of the residual squared. So list 4 is my list of residuals. And so I want to get out of here, quit, and I'm going to press stat, and I want to do calculations, and I want the one var stats. Oh, one var stats. And I want that for list 4, so I'm going to change this right here for list 4 because it's going to give me something. Let's go down to calculate. So for list 4, it gives me the statistics, the summary statistics for list 4. But what I'm interested in here are the squares of each of the items. So that's the sum squared of my residuals. So I have the 8,725.0975. And so I'm going to use that for this, the sum squared of the residuals in my calculation, so I could find the standard error. So I put that in. I'm going to use my calculator to do it. I have the 8,725.095, and I divide it by 7 because here my n was 9, and so 9 minus 2 is 7, and I'm going to type that into my calculator. So I have, you could do it really in one swoop. So I'm going to do second square root, clear that, then press second square root, and I can really type it in as it's written. So I have 875.725 divided by 7. So typing that into my calculator, I got 35.30 rounded to 2 decimal places. And so what that means, this tells us that the predicted appeal rating differs from the actual appeal rating by about 35 points. And so we're able to use the graphing calculator to compute our standard error. So hopefully that gives you some practice of how to do it. And now you can move forward and try that out with this assignment. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Stop by my office hours. And I also have hours at the Math Learning Center this semester. I hope this was helpful. See you later.